Stop watering your plants the wrong way. Improperly watering your plants will lead to them getting attacked by pests, disease, and them producing less for you. So today I'm going to share with you 6 watering mistakes to avoid so that you can start watering your plants the right way. For the first mistake, it's underwatering your plant. Most of the veggies that we grow are about 92% water or more, and without enough water, they will not be able to produce for you. In fact, your plants like your cucumbers, zucchini, and squash will produce all male flowers and no female flowers, which is the one that produce the fruit, or no flowers at all when you're not watering them enough. Another common problem that you'll run into when growing your fruiting veggies is you'll get blossom end rot on your tomatoes, which is a black-brown spot that is starting to get soft. Most beginner gardeners will look up online and realize that it's a calcium problem and add some eggshells to the soil. And while adding some will not hurt your plants, you're still going to need to be properly watering your tomato in order for them to actually take up that calcium from the soil. Also, have you ever bitten into a bitter cucumber and wonder why is it so bitter? Well, the reason that happens is because your cucumber plant will produce a chemical compound called cucurbitacin when they are stressed, and underwatering your cucumber, since they're 96% water, gets them stressed easily. Pests too will also be able to pick up on that stress signal that is being created from your plant. And in the case of our cucumber plant, their pest is the cucumber beetle, and they'll come out when more of the cucurbitacin is produced. Now that you know how important not underwatering your plants are, the second mistake is overwatering your plants. When you're watering the soil, if you were to keep wetting it down every day and deeply soaking it, the soil would reach to a point where it gets deeply saturated with water, which could be known as oversaturated. And in an oversaturated soil, there is no oxygen because all of it gets dried out by the water. That's not good for our plants because they need oxygen to survive and would much rather prefer it if the soil has time to get wet, then dry out, water it again, and dry out. Just like me and you breathing in and out, our plants' roots need time to breathe when the soil is not soaking. Overwatering though is easy to do in containers, especially ones where there is no drainage hose in the bottom of them. So for my containers, before I plant them, I like to drill holes. That way the excess water will be able to come out. The third mistake is inconsistently watering your plant, or better yet, having an inconsistent soil moisture. If you forget to water your plants for an extended period of time, then when you go back to water them again, the soil will be dry, and pouring in a bunch of water could cause your plants to experience a dramatic shock. On your tomato, if you ever saw cracking or splitting happening on them, sometimes you can eat the tomato if it's not too bad, but other times the cracking and splitting have gotten really bad for me, that germs and bacteria got in and my tomatoes spoiled, that I had to throw them away. Also, all the extra water that is being pumped into your tomato will make them taste less sweet because the water will dilute the flavor of it, and it's another thing that inconsistent watering leads to. Putting down a layer of mulch will help to keep the soil moisture in a consistent zone of not too wet or not too dry for your plants. Because mulch has a really cool property when the soil is very wet, it will soak up the excess water, and when the soil starts to dry out later, it will release that water to your plants, so your soil and plants always have the right amount of water in between your watering session. Another thing mulch will do is that this bed here, if I was not to put down all of this mulch, will be really dry for my potatoes that are starting to grow. But since I put down the mulch is a little reflective as it's a light color and will bounce away any of the hot sun during the day, which will stop most of how your water is evaporating. I like using straw mulch like you could see, but I also use grass clippings or leaves as other great mulch for my vegetables. Now, once you know that you want to be consistently watering your plants, you need to know when to water them. Because if you're just going off based of days, you may be watering your soil every 2 days, but then in summer, the soil may dry out. And in the cooler time of fall and the spring, if you're watering your plants too frequently, then that also could cause your soil to get too wet. So the fourth mistake is going off a schedule and not checking the soil for when to water. To check your soil, all you have to do is go down about 4 to 6 inches. And then, taking a handful of soil, you will want to try and do the squeeze test. If when you do the squeeze test, it doesn't hold the shape of a ball and it's crumbling apart, then that means that your soil is too dry. But if the soil stays together, then you know that the soil is still wet and won't need watering right away. A little trick you could do when watering your plants is that if the soil is very dry, what you could do is in a watering can, fill it with water, and then for about every gallon of water, add in a 1/4 teaspoon of pure castile soap or a few drops of dish soap. The castile soap is milder on your plants, so that's why I use that one, but this soap could also be used, just you'll want to use less. What the soap does with the water is it acts as a surfactant, which lowers the surface tension of the water and makes it easier for it to penetrate through dry soil, because sometimes dry soil can be hydrophobic, meaning that it'll want to repel water away instead of absorbing it in. Now, you only really want to do this when just re-wetting the soil from when it's really dry, because that is when you'll need it. Afterwards, if you're worried about the soap harming your plant, you could wash your plant down with some regular water, and you won't want to use it for every watering, just for when it's really dry and the soil is having a hard time soaking in the water. For mistake number 5, another thing that you'll want to do is to water at the base of your plants. And what watering at the base of your plants will do is it will prevent any water from just sitting on the leaves of your plant, because water pooling up on the leaves could cause your leaves to get diseased for your tomato and squashes. You also don't want to be watering at a high pressure, because that will cause more soil to splash on your plants. And the less soil you could get means the less disease they will be able to travel up your plants. Also, putting down a layer of soil will help to reduce soil splashing as well. If you set up drip irrigation too, that will be good for your plants, because they water directly in one spot and the water will go down deeper, as well as there will be no splashing of the leaves. Now, drip irrigation can cost a bit to set up, so if you want a free form of semi-automatic drip irrigation, which you can make from milk jugs, I'll link a video in the description that we made so that you can learn how to do it. For the 6th mistake, you probably noticed that sometime in the past, right after it rains, your plants seem to have grown much bigger. And there is a reason for that. Rainwater contains nitrates, which is basically nitrogen, but in the most bioavailable form, which means that your plant can use it right away to grow. And since nitrogen promotes leaf growth, that is what will cause your plant to grow faster after. Rainwater also has the perfect pH for your plants of 5 to 6.5, and your vegetables, they like to be grown in a pH of 6 to 7, but most of them like around a 6.5. Rainwater is also softer for your plants because they don't have as much salt or other chemicals, and they also don't have any chlorine in it, which city water does, and they add in for the treatment of sewage. Collecting some rainwater will also mean that you'll also have a backup extra supply of water just in case, and you'll have to spend less on watering your garden because you aren't using water from the city. I have this IPC tote which could hold about 1,250 liters of water, which makes this perfect for storing water, as well as some other rain barrels that we have. So that's it for this video. I hope you learned a lot. If you did, peck that like button and share this video with a friend. Goodbye!